Good morning, students. Today we are going to solve question 10 from GATE CSE 2023. The question states that which one of the following options best describe the transformation of the 2D figure. Now this is the 2D figure from P to Q, and then to R. Okay, as shown. So operation 1 is given over here and operation 2 is given over here, and in every single option those two operations are described as to what they are doing, right? So you have to imagine, right? So but to directly view this and then from that imagine that how can you make this figure and how can you make this figure takes a lot of mental power which you don't need to expend. Let's just read the options and then analyze what all things you need to imagine, because there is a element of time in GATE, right? You cannot just waste a lot of time on that. So the options really does give a lot of constraints upon the question that you must consider. The first one states, this just let's see the option, the clockwise rotation by 90 degrees about an axis perpendicular to the plane of the figure. So about an axis perpendicular to the plane of the figure basically means the z axis, right? So if this is the axis upon which we are rotating it, this figure clockwise, by this they're giving clockwise rotation, right? And here they're giving reflection along the horizontal line, right? Reflection along, right? Over here a counterclockwise rotation about axis perpendicular to the figure. So this part, axis perpendicular to the figure, is common to all operation 1s, right? Axis perpendicular to the figure, and reflection is common to all of operation 2s, right? So in the second operation you must only imagine the reflections along the horizontal and even the vertical lines, right? What is the reflection along the vertical line? So if this were to be the line of reflection, then basically this is a mirror. So from that mirror's perspective, the left side objects of this mirror will go to the right side and the right side objects will go to the left side, right? So is the vertical mirror reflection of this giving this? Not really, because see, we as human can only perceive patterns. So what is the most noticeable, most distinct pattern in this whole diagram? This arm of the star is most protruding, right? Is most protruding element of the star and can be used to identify it uniquely, right? And more particularly, it can be used to identify the orientation of the star, right? So this, in this diagram, the longest protruding arm is present over here, and in this it is present on top over here. So by vertical reflection, it will never reach to this. So this reflection along the vertical line, both of these options cannot be the case. So both of them can be cutted out, right? Okay. Now B and A, clockwise rotation and counterclockwise rotation, right? So let's again observe at the identifying element. So this arm, if this whole star were to be rotated counterclockwise, right, it will go over here, right? But in this diagram, the longest rotating arm is present over here, right? So this B can also not be the answer. By process of elimination, we already know the answer. The answer is going to be A. But still, let's just imagine. So follow along to complete the question, right? So this arm, right? This arm has gone over here, and that is only possible if this were to be reflected, if this were to be rotated 90 degrees clockwise. And that is what the first operation is being told about in the first option, A option, right? So that is the answer. Obviously this is a very simple question, but and your analysis must, I do expect, would have been the same. This video will only serve as a validation that yes, this question has to be done this way. To have better confidence in this, I will just give computer graphics to actually do these rotations and reflections so that you have better understanding, right? So let's take that. Okay, so this is the whole operation, right? This star, operation 1, this star, operation 2, this star, right? So let's take this star and just rotate it along the z axis, right? Along the z axis, right? So 90 degrees, if I were to rotate it, it will give this diagram, right? As is clearly visible, this thing will give this thing, right? And from this, if I have to find the reflection of this along the horizontal axis, right? So now for that, let's do that also. So if I were to take the reflection of this along the horizontal axis, this basically gives this diagram, right? I really think that this will provide a lot of confidence to you in your own analysis, that yes, you have found the right answer. Even from computer graphics, it validates you in another way, right? I hope this has added some value to you, right? And that, let's meet in the next video.